Hey, I just got back from lunch. Did you finish that report yet?
Well, not exactly. Still working on it. I'm not finished just yet. I got a little sidetracked, but I will get them to you first thing this afternoon.
It is first thing this afternoon.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but I mean, I am working on
But
it. I'll have
what do you mean that the report isn't finished yet?
I'm still in the process of working on it. I've just been a little distracted.
Distracted. Our meeting starts in an hour.
I can have it.
No. What were you doing? Were you listening to another hunting podcast again? I swear, I give the staff in this office the freedom to do whatever they want to do as long as they meet a deadline. That is the first bullet underneath your job description. Pays attention to detail and deadlines. And deadlines. Dude, are you even listening to me right now?
Hey guys, if you're looking for a quality bow dealership near Newcastle, Pennsylvania, look no farther than Williams Archery down in Edinburgh, PA, just minutes west of the city. They offer Hoyt, PSE, Elite, Bear, and many more brands. Go check out their bow fishing equipment or stop in for hands-on shooting lessons. Give Ron and Linda a call at 724-667-9660.
Welcome to episode 43 of the Whitetail Distraction Podcast. My name's Austin, and I am all alone in the rack shack again. Charles has tasked himself with traveling the world to find Ted Nugent and ask him why he still hasn't come on the show. So props to him. Anyway, part 2 of the Leatherwood Outdoors podcast with John Royer. This podcast was so much fun to record. It's just the continuation of the first one. We talk a little bit more about snake hunting. We go into his favorite deer stories. I mean, he's just a really cool dude to talk to, and I think you guys will enjoy this one.
Now, I'm not really sure exactly where you were at, but, I mean, if you go into north central PA and you hunt a full day, sooner or later you'll see one.
Okay.
Because there's very few times anymore that I've gone out and not, found any snakes. Because weather does have a big factor. If it really rains really hard, if it's blowing wind a lot, they don't seem to be out. And if it's super, super hot, then they got to regulate their body temperature since they're cold-blooded, so they'll come in and out of the rocks. They might come out for a little bit, go under for a little bit. So you could be on a line or, a gas line, power line, or going through the woods or whatever, and walk past all these rocks. You don't see any snakes. You don't even hear them rattle. That doesn't mean on the way back that they won't be there, because I've seen it happen. Saw a guy on a line, and most guys see snake hunters out on a line and like, that's already hunted. We might as well turn around. But if there's two guys that are coming towards each other, this happened once where there was a guy coming towards us and we walked up and we said, well, there's nothing out here. And we both knew that doesn't mean anything, because the rocks we passed that didn't find anything doesn't mean that now a half hour later that there's snakes under. So he went back to check the rocks we checked, and we went behind him to check the rocks that he checked. Well, we took a little bit of a slower time, so he already checked the rocks and was walking back behind us. We got to the one rocks where he already checked, and there was 5 rattlesnakes,
Wow.
small ones, out on a rock. And he's walking past, and I said, did you check this rock when you come by? He said, yeah. I said, were there any snakes here? He said, no. I said, well, there's 5 small snakes out on this rock right now. He goes, really? I said, yep. He goes, I checked all around that, never heard a rattle. And that was literally maybe a half hour, 40 minutes later.
That is absolutely crazy, man. That's nuts.
That did give me some more confidence. Now I'm rejuvenated. I'm ready to get back out there again. But I've still
gone on a lot of places where I haven't found snakes.
Yeah.
And when I do go on a place that I didn't find any, if it looks really, really snaky, meaning you get that feeling once you've been around enough of good spots that you just have that sense of like, there's just got to be snakes here. Then I'll come back a second time. And if I don't find anything there, then I usually write it off.
Okay.
And there's been places where I've hunted in some counties that may only have a very super, super, super small population of rattlesnakes. So it's sort of a challenge just to see if you can find one. And I remember in one county, I'm not going to name the county, but it took me 4 years to find a rattlesnake. And it was really a place I wasn't expecting them. But I went around to like neighbors, people that lived close, and looking at maps and trying to figure out anything that I could find pinpoint where it was, and it still took me 4 years, probably going there 2 times a year for 4 years till I found them. But each time I hit a different spot each time till I found them. So even where there are rattlesnakes, sometimes they can be hard if there's just not that big of a population of them.
That makes sense.
So,
I feel like that goes with everything.
I'm kind of wondering. We were near Marionville. I don't know if that's a good or bad area or not. We thought there were snakes up there, but I've never seen one up there. I don't know.
yeah, I've hunted up there 1 year. I mean, it was close to the Marionville area.
Yeah.
And we hit a spot, and we found a lot of small snakes.
Okay.
And it wasn't a spot where it was either going to be one of those ones where we were going to find some big giant ones, or we probably weren't going to find anything at all. But we found a few small ones. But to get to where it was kind of like, this was kind of cool to come back in here and stuff like that. But it's like, there's a lot of other spots that I think we'll come back to this maybe years down the road,
Yeah, that makes sense.
But we did run into some other snake hunters that were headed back to that spot on our way out. So
Okay.
we thought, well, this has already been hunted too by other known snake hunters. We thought, and don't ever think that you're finding someplace new that snake hunters haven't known about. We thought there's nobody knows about this place. And we passed 2 snake hunters, and they're like, you literally hit that spot. And it, they saw me from the videos, like, how did you know about that spot? And it's like, well, that's what a snake hunter does. I'm telling you want to be really, really careful of what you post in a video, because I'm telling you, you would be surprised of what a snake hunter can do to find a new place to rattlesnake hunt. It's just, there's people that can, like power lines. If you see a picture of a power line that has 1 pole for the power line, or 3 poles, or it's metal from wood, or it's not a power line and it's gas line, and all they need to do is, Here County or anything close, like, oh yeah, we stopped at so-and-so on the way home to eat, and they can retrace your steps and figure it out online in maps and pinpoint. And so that's really careful of where you say, even whether it's a gas line or power line. I usually just say on a line.
Yeah.
And a line could be in the middle of the woods. I mean, that last video that I just posted, I said, here at the end of the line, we found 2 rattlesnakes.
Oh.
That line was literally a 100-yard rock cliff in the middle of the woods.
Well,
So a line is just a section of land that you hunt for rattlesnakes. That doesn't necessarily mean a power line, a gas line.
Okay.
It's just a section of area that you hunt, because you usually cover it in one motion. Yeah, and so that's why snake hunters are so tight-lipped, because the snakes, even though there's so many, to find those big snakes, they live such a long time. It takes such a long time for them to get that big that a lot of guys really don't want to be seen anywhere near their snake hunting spots, and they are not going to show any pictures. They're not going to give you any information. Now, I show a lot of stuff on the YouTube videos, and pretty much I review everything that I'm showing, and if I'm showing, I know what I'm showing. And if most of the places I'm showing are already known very good snake hunting places.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you see county or anything like that, or any type of information, if you can figure out the puzzle, then it's probably not going to be anything that a lot of other people don't already know about, because
Right.
we do see a lot of other people when we're snake hunting. But if when I start going into, not showing county or anything else, then that's where something that, you don't want to give anything away that could lead somebody, whether it's a hunter, but there's also a lot of people out there that just, they just want to go to kill the snakes, and then you got these people that are like in the black market. They'll just try to take the snakes from the wild to sell them on the black market
Oh,
too.
geez.
So they'll take tons and tons of snakes out of one area, and you don't want that happening.
Yeah.
either.
Never thought
Yeah.
about that threat.
No,
Man,
absolutely.
this is like worse than the waterfowl gang,
Yeah, the snake hunters. You know the old saying, loose lips catch snakes.
I don't think that's how it goes.
It does in this game, my man.
All right. Well,
There's a lot of people. There's really not anything, nobody that does any guiding, but you just put your time into it, and you always definitely want to go with somebody else. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't go look for snakes, but you don't want to be, hunting, planning on picking up snakes, by yourself and stuff like that. But yeah. And then you have the tongs too. One thing I'd like to say about the tongs is there's different types of tongs. There's wide grip tongs and there's like really pointy tongs. And I've seen a lot of guys that when you catch a big snake, it might get wrapped around some brush or around a rock. You're not supposed to pull them out from under a rock because, number one, if you catch a big snake, you're just going to tear it all up anyways, and you're going to ruin your hide your snake. But you don't want to be doing that because if you don't get it, you're probably going to be breaking a lot of the ribs in that snake's body. But sometimes the snakes will thrash around, and guys are putting a pretty good grip on them. Now, a snake can flatten itself out pretty good because they can go through really thin cracks under those rocks.
Oh, yeah.
But there's guys that when they're thrashing around, they're grabbing them too far up near the head or too far in the back. So if you really want a snake to try to bite you, just try to grab that tong around it, the first half of its head or near its tail. So there's too many people that's where they grab the snake because they're afraid if they grab in the body, the snake has all that length to maybe come back and bite them. But grabbing them in the middle of the body, the thickest, meatiest part of their body, is going to be, number one, the safest, because you're not going to break anything or hurt the snake as much. And because of that, you're not hurting the snake. The snake's not going to get as mad as if you grabbed them 10 inches behind the head. And so, or near the base of the tail. And so always try to grab the snake in the middle of the body and just use just enough pressure in your grip just to keep the snake from moving. Now, that doesn't mean to keep him from moving a half inch. If he's wiggling around, then just move him and keep picking him up and moving him and picking him up and moving him. But some people grab so tight that the snake's working so hard that it starts to rip the hide. And so sometimes guys will wrap their tongs with maybe tape or something softer than just the bare metal on the corners. But one thing about it is tongs don't hurt snakes, people hurt snakes. So it's the same thing with guns. Guns don't kill people, people kill people. So I can lay that tong in with the snake all day long, and that tong is not going to hurt the snake because there's a big group of people that are anti-tongs. But you want to be able to understand how to hold that snake because if you decide not to keep that snake, you want that snake to grow long and make more snakes. So, it's sort of looking at it in the long run that, yes, on one hand, we do have lots of snakes in the state as a whole, but in general locations, that one big snake, there's not going to be that many of them.
No, that makes total sense, man. That's honestly, all of that was just super solid advice, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of advice I think I needed for just because going into it, other than watching your videos, I had no clue really what to do or how to do anything. I just wanted to go see a snake. That's what I was all about. I've never seen one. I just wanted to go and find one, see one, maybe handle one, get them tubed and just check them out. I think that would have been super cool experience just to see and feel a rattlesnake. But I told Sam that day, we were sitting there in the shade trying to cool off after climbing this mountain. And I said, you know what? I don't know why, but why do so many people go through all this effort, do all this, crush yourself? You're walking through some pretty tough terrain at times too with that rocky terrain. All to try to find a snake that's venomous and that could potentially kill you if it bit you. Think about that from an outside source. It makes you feel a little wacky.
Yeah, I get that all the time. And, that's another reason why I recommend tongs. But at the same time, I say that knowing that there's going to be somebody out there that's going to hurt a snake using tongs if they don't know what they're doing. And so on one hand, a lot of people just use a hook, just a snake hook. They'll pick the rattlesnake up by the base where the rattle is and then hold the hook with the snake in the middle and work that snake that way into the tube. But, I don't ever plan to get bit. And obviously, I'm sure most guys don't. I don't know anybody. I say that because I actually had a guy that wanted to go snake hunting with me because he wanted a rattlesnake to bite him in the arm.
Oh, my
God. He told me. He's like, I just want to see what it feels like. I'm like, yeah, I'm never taking you rattlesnake hunting.
Ever.
Idiot.
I'm never taking you rattlesnake hunting. And, but anyways, there are crazy people out there like that. But nobody really wants to get bit. But what I'm saying is I want like the least amount of chance, because most of the rattlesnake hunters that have gotten bit are guys that have so much experience with rattlesnakes. And there's two types of people that I've noticed that get bit. The first type of person that gets bit, and I'm talking people who handle snakes. I'm not talking about the person who was walking through the woods and accidentally fell and got bit by a snake. I'm talking about people who are handling snakes. Is number one, the people who did not look up the rules and regulations or try to learn anything about the snake itself, have no respect for the snake. They're just all about just trying to kill a snake, and they're just wrestling with the snake, and they're beginners, and they get bit. And they might still go years without getting bit, but they're doing it the same way. They've never been taught a proper way of how to safely handle the snake or anything like that. Those types of people get bit. And then the other types of people that get bit are the ones that are so relaxed and they've let their guard down.
Complacency kills, man.
And they're so experienced that they've, it's like picking up the snake with their bare hands, and almost like a snake charmer type feel, where they're so confident that they've handled so many snakes just with their hands or with hook in hand, that they've been doing it for so many years, maybe even longer than I've been snake hunting, and they've never gotten bit. But they still have that bite on their record that they did get bit once. And it could be, I've looked back at some of my videos and I've seen some of things that I didn't realize that I did, like picking up tongs too close to the snake's head, having my hand too close to the snake when I let it back out of the tube. And I'm like, what in the world was I thinking? Because at the time, I've already picked up 100 snakes. And I'm like, that video, what in the world? I didn't even realize to me that I was that close. So I don't want to get, I still have a fear of the snake, respect for the snake. I still get goosebumps when I see one, a big, rattlesnake laying next to a rock. I still get goosebumps when I see one. Even if it's a little one, it's like, whoa, that's really cool. But at the same time, I'm not going to try to be manly and try to say, oh, look at me. I'm big snake hunter here and pick it up on my bare hands. Even if I don't get bit, I don't want to be doing that. I don't want to show anybody else that either, because those snakes are so strong when they get so big, and they're so fast when they strike, that really can't afford to get bit if you're back 2 miles in the middle of nowhere and you don't have cell service.
No, that makes total sense, man.
So I don't want people seeing me with a hook in my hands picking up a 50-inch rattlesnake.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then everybody else is going to be like, oh, no, that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
So, I just not going to show myself doing that. Now, I do have one video way back a long time ago. I picked a snake up with my bare hands, and that was the last time I ever did it. That was the first time I ever did it, when we were first snake hunting.
You got bigger balls than me, man.
Yeah, that's going to take some experience.
It was basically between me and a friend of mine, and we're like, oh, who's going to pick up a snake first? And, with our bare hands, like this, tough guy competition. And then after I did it, I'm like, that was really dumb.
Yeah.
And then when he did it, the snake, because when you start gripping that snake around the head, number one, that's where the softer parts of the snake are, and the sensitive parts of the snake are. He's going to get real mad. Well, he had a snake in his hand, and it curled around, and the fang was like a quarter inch from going into his wrist, the inside of his wrist.
Man.
And then he just hurried up and dropped the snake, and it ran under, got under a rock, and that was the last time. And we're like, no more picking up snakes, because when we first started snake hunting, any snake hunter we saw was basically using just a hook in their bare hand. Now that was still, like I said, before we started hunting, you didn't have to measure them. So a snake was a snake. If you can get into a pillow sack and, tie a knot into it, you didn't have to tube it, count the scales in the back and stuff like that. But
yeah, no, that makes total sense, man. That makes total sense.
Just, there's nothing in the rules that say you have to use like a hook and you have to use tongs. They're just suggested. But I'm not going to show I don't want anybody to recommend picking the snake up with their bare hands. And I know a lot of people are pushing for more people to use a hook for the snake's sake. But for me, I'm going to be making videos, and for their sake, I would rather have a snake with a couple broken ribs than somebody getting bit because they saw me trying to do it with hook and hand, and they wanted to do that too and get bit.
No, I mean, and that's a liability thing, too. I mean, just because you're out there and you're showing people that you can do it doesn't mean that they can. You have, like you said, 10, 15 years experience doing it. And you're still trying to be careful doing it. You don't want to get bit. There's nobody that wants to get bit by a rattlesnake. That's just a bad decision.
Yeah, you got to respect the animal as well. I mean, this is still an animal that's very venomous. It's what it can do. It's not what it typically does. It's what it can do. You know, with most animals, they're wild. They're wild animals. You know, anything can happen at any time. You have to respect the animal, and you have to take precautions so you don't get hurt. Nobody wants to get hurt. This is supposed to be having fun, enjoying the outdoors, going on new adventures. Nobody wants to have to rush you to the hospital or be 3 miles back and figure out, okay, now what? You know, that's what you want to avoid.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
All right. So what else you thinking, Austin? I mean, I know we kind of touched a lot of things here. Do you have anything else? You want to move on from there, hit some rapid fires, or do you want to get a favorite story from John?
I want to get a favorite deer story.
Okay. John, you ready to move on from snakes? I know you're pretty passionate about it, man.
Favorite deer story.
It could be your first deer. It could be your last deer, your biggest deer. Anything that you want to talk about, man.
Man.
Or the one that got away.
Oh, there's so many. I'm trying to think of some that were pretty crazy. Oh, man. Let me think here. Well, we can just talk about that 30-40 Craig buck.
Dude, I'm so glad. I was so hoping you would bring that one up. That's my favorite deer story of yours.
I thought I'd bring that one up because I get so many emails saying that that's one of their favorite videos, is that 30-40 Craig buck. And the story with that is my grandfather had all these old guns and stuff. So there for a few Christmases, there's three of us grandkids, and he said, I'll give each one of you one of my old guns, and I'll figure out which one, try to evenly, price-wise what they were worth, and then you guys pick it from a hat, and you get whatever number, goes with the gun. Well, there was that 30-40 Craig, and that was the one I wanted, because my grandfather was telling me about how nice it was, and it was like in pristine condition and stuff like that, and, it was literally built in 1899, I think. So anyways, I ended up getting that 25-20 that I've used in several videos, but my cousin got the 30-40 Craig, and I said to him, I want to kill a deer with that rifle. He goes, okay, yeah. He goes, you get ammo for it, you can shoot a deer with it. So I don't know why, but, since I started getting those guns, I thought, I'm going to start using these guns in some of the videos to shoot doe during the rifle season. So that's where I started doing this old rifle thing, every year trying to shoot a doe with a really old rifle. And so I got that gun, and it was the second week of the rifle season. And now this big buck has been known the whole season. Family members, friends have seen it, neighbors seen it in archery season, and this deer moved like crazy. I mean, he showed himself to everyone everywhere, and he was running like a 3-mile circle around.
Oh, man.
And because I would hear people talk about him, and then here he was over here, and here he was there. And so on the first Saturday of rifle season, it was the first Friday of the rifle season. I'm sitting up in the stand, and I hear a gunshot where he was originally being seen. A cousin from Florida saw him twice on opening day and never got a shot at him. He was laying in a little pocket of a field, and he walked by that field 2 times during the opening day, and he circled back and went back to that same spot in that field, and he jumped him twice, and both times he never got a shot at. So I knew he was still out there. Well, I heard a shot out that way because my cousin that lives up here was still hunting. I thought, he got him, because that's got to be the only buck up there. So I got out of my stand early because I'm like, and this is like a mile and a half away. I hear the shot. I'm like, I know that's where he got him. So I get out of my stand early, and I drive up the road past our farm, and I don't see his vehicle anywhere. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe that wasn't him because he's not even hunting today. So I turn around. I'm like, I just got out of my stand right at prime time. Yeah. So I turn around, and it's already getting dark. It's like right this time now. I mean, sun's already down. And I look up in my pasture field, and there he is standing, that big buck, standing right in the middle of our pasture field, ready to jump over the fence and jump over the road. So I had the video camera, and I videotaped him for a second. And I'm like, man. So that Saturday, I put my trail camera in the pines where I usually hunt with my wife on every opening Saturday, and sometimes on the opening day. Well, that time we decided we're going to go up on the hill and watch for deer in part of the fields. So after that opening day, I go down and I check my trail camera, and there that buck walked 20 yards right past our stand, and my wife would have had a 20-yard shot at him.
Oh, my
First thing,
goodness.
9:30 in the morning. She's like, you seriously don't want me to shoot a buck, do you? She's still trying to get her first buck. And I'm like, I had no idea. Now, the thing is, that buck traveled 1.5 miles and come by my trail camera because he was 1.5 miles away. And that was at dark. And at 9:30 in the morning, he was headed back where he came from because he wasn't coming from that direction. He was already going back that direction. So this buck was really moving a lot. So through the week, I thought, all right, well, I'm going to shoot a doe. You know, towards the end of the week, nobody's seeing the buck. I haven't seen him. I don't know where he's at. He must be really in hiding now. And so now I'm going to go out and shoot a doe. So I leave the house and I walk up across the creek, up along the side of the road, logging road. And on the other side of the creek, there's a little mowed off place where the power line is. And what I was planning on doing, like I almost walked out of the house without my camera because all I thought I was going to do was I was going to spook all the deer because they lay back in the woods here along this creek. And I was going to spook them out of there, and then I would come back later and kind of watch them funnel back down in towards evening and hopefully have my camera and wait for one, shoot one. I thought, no, if I'm taking the camera, if I walk out there, there'll be a doe just staying there forever and I won't have my video camera. So I bring my video camera and so walk out across the creek, and I already had the camera set up on the tripod, and all of a sudden I looked across the stream and I saw him walking right across. So all I did was fling open the tripod, flipped open the screen, and I never had to adjust that camera. It was like perfectly set straight where it needed to be. So that helped me a lot because I just flinged open the tripod, opened the thing, and there it is on. And I just right above it, and like I was not expecting. I'm like, this is completely different aiming it with this gun at a deer because it's like a peephole sight.
Oh yeah.
And my cousin's like, yeah, this thing is dead on. I'm like, well, I know. I'm like, well, let's try this. And so the first shot, and I knew I already had it in my mind. If I miss, I know what to do. And so I shot, and that thing didn't move, and hurried up, racked another one, shot, and I didn't feel like I did anything different. I aimed the same place, did everything the same. It just, I had to have pulled on the first shot or something. And second shot dropped him. And because I knew that was him the moment I saw him, but I was not expecting to see him at all. Because that trail camera picture I had of him, I believe was one of the only pictures I had of him on all of the property that I hunt. Because he might have just come around through here once in a while. And it was like the second time he was on. And so, yeah, and I sort of hit him like top of the lung a little bit, high shoulder. And so when I got up to him, I had to put another one in him, but he laid there motionless for like forever until I got over there. And then he sort of got up, I had to put another one in him, and he made Pennsylvania record book, scored 147.5, I believe.
Oh man.
That's gross, 141 or 142 net. So
net is
bottom
proficient,
of
man.
the PA record books is 140. And
That's
so,
awesome.
That's awesome.
yeah, I just couldn't believe it. I mean, I did everything wrong because I almost walked on that side of the creek to push the doe across, and I didn't. And I'm like, nah, I'll go to the other side of the creek. And then it was like, I almost didn't bring my camera. And it's just like, man, I'm like, I can't believe that just happened. I was still in shock. I just couldn't believe it. And, I still can't believe that he didn't bust any points off. I mean, his G2s and G3s were so long. He was skinny. Mostly you have bucks at that age that make a record book. They have a lot of mass, and he didn't have mass. He just had length and height, and he was only 14.5 inside.
Wow.
So, I mean, his beam lengths were long. His points were long.
Yeah.
And it just, for him not to bust a point off was ridiculous. Oh, and I completely forgot about this. The day before opening day, did you ever see the buck fight video?
I'm sure I have, because I've definitely watched probably all of your videos once or twice.
It was either on the first, I think we had that video on our second channel, Leatherwood Outdoors too, but the night before opening day, we're all down at camp getting ready to play our annual poker game and stuff with all friends and family. My grandfather comes in coming from the farm, because our farm is just up the road a mile, and he goes, hey, there's 2 big bucks locked antlers on the road. I'm like, what? So we all go up there, and there they are, all bloody-faced, and the one you could see blood coming down along its eye, down along its cheek. And here's this massive 8-point and that 10-point. And my grandfather couldn't get around them because they were fighting on the road. And they finally made their way off into our hayfield and he could get around them. And then he came down, they were still up there. Well, I don't know what we were going to do, but everyone ran down there with spotlights, and then they finally, got themselves loose right in front of everyone, and they still one chased the other one the whole way across the field while everybody was there. But a neighbor ended up telling me that those 2 deer were locked antlers earlier in the day, almost 3/4 of a mile away in another field.
Jeez.
He said he watched them for almost a half hour locked antlers. They got loose and ran that direction, and then they got locked antlers again.
That is absolutely intense, man.
You never hear about that in PA,
No.
I don't even know when the next time that'll ever happen, because it just, for that 2 big bucks like that, and I never did hear anybody ever kill the 8-point. I've still been waiting to hear that buck, and it's probably dead now, but I never heard any word of it, because it was at least a 135-inch 8-point.
And that's a super solid deer for PA,
That's
man.
a good, and especially being an 8-point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, that's that's awesome story, man. I'm so glad you told that one because honestly, that is probably one of my favorite videos that you have on your channel. And anybody who's listening, I know he told the story, but it doesn't even do the video justice. Go out and watch that hunt. It is so exciting. It's so awesome. It's a great deer. I mean, everything about it's just so much fun.
Yeah, it just goes to show. I was wearing blue jeans and no orange camo or anything like that. Like, you can, if you want to really just look at how I'm dressed, you can definitely tell I was not planning on killing a buck, or I was just going out with the gun just to scare some deer around and then break them up out of their bedding areas and then try to walk through the woods later to hunt them. I would have not been wearing what I was wearing, when you see me actually with the deer at the end of the video.
Yeah, with your
man.
brown jacket on and blue jeans. I'm looking at it right now. Man, that buck is beautifully symmetrical, too.
Oh, it's a crazy
Goodness,
buck,
is
man.
he gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, John, we're getting closer to time here. One thing we do like to do, we don't do it every episode, but I feel like this episode kind of calls for it. Can we do a little bit of rapid fire? Are you down for that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
All right. Sounds cool, man. All right. I like it. So, number 1, we ask everybody this question. What's your number 1 tip for a new hunter?
Enjoy the outdoors. Just enjoy being in the woods. Don't think about actually setting a goal to try to kill something. The goal actually should be just to enjoy God's creation, just having fun being in the woods. It's not about the kill. It's just about being out in the woods, either by yourself or with a friend and family member, where you can just talk and just be with each other and enjoy God's creation.
Awesome
Beautiful.
answer.
Beautiful. All right, John. A 60-inch rattlesnake or let's make it 160-inch whitetail buck.
Which one would you pick?
Which one would you pick?
I would take the rattlesnake unless I killed that deer with a bow or a flintlock.
Beautiful.
I like that answer.
If I had to use a rifle, I would take the snake.
I was assuming with a bow, personally, so yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because with a bow or a flintlock.
Yeah, or flintlock.
But yeah, with a rifle, I'd have to pick the snake.
Nice.
I dig that answer a lot. If you had to pick one person, past or present, doesn't matter what time period, who it could be, anything, who would you pick to hunt with?
Oh, man.
That's a tough one because there's so many good
I was
people.
going to say, we probably could have sent these to him earlier.
We should have. Yeah.
It's pretty tough.
Probably my grandfather, because he told me some crazy deer stories when he was younger, when he went deer hunting. And this type of stuff that they did when they deer hunted, but he's too old. The closest he ever came to hunting was, he's like, while you guys are out deer hunting, I know that big buck's going to come right in front of the front porch of the camp, so I'm going to sit here on the front porch with the rifle. Well, I don't think he's going to walk through all the cars, here at camp, but that was the closest to hunting I ever saw at him. But I know he used to hunt a lot when he was younger, but yeah, I'd probably go hunting with him, because he said he was always a good shot and made some crazy shots and killed some deer in some crazy ways. So yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
man. That's who I would pick too, to be honest. So, yeah, my grandfather. That'd be the one.
All right. Mornings or afternoon hunts?
Afternoon.
I dig that. I'm a big fan of afternoon hunts.
I've gone to the point where I just feel like I just have, out of all the years and all the morning hunts, it's almost like tradition. You have to go out in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's opening day. You're going to be out there in the morning, or you're going with a friend. You're going to go out. But I've just seen too much in like that 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. It's like, why? I'm usually like out of the tree stand, getting something to eat, and then coming back at this time. And that's when I started getting into the stand earlier. So I would pick afternoons.
I like that answer a lot. What's your favorite Leatherwood Outdoors video, if you had to pick one?
Oh, jeez.
I know that's hard, and there's so many good ones, man.
Oh, man, I really don't know. Now, like right now, I'm thinking that 30-40 Craig buck.
Sweet.
That's probably one of the craziest videos. But the other video that's popping into my head, I wasn't even there. I just edited the video. Was the video where they were killing deer with bows on deer drives.
Yeah, man. That is such a cool video.
That was basically the video that put us on the map.
Yeah.
Because when that video come out, it was partially controversial, and that's what it really went up like on Hunting PA forums and stuff like that. And then Archery Talk was real popular at that time. And so, you know, people were posting that video everywhere, and it was getting lots of views. And so that one was crazy. That like was revolutionary. Nobody ever seen that before.
Yeah.
I never even seen that before until they brought me the footage. I'm like, I can't believe you guys did this. Because those deer hit the cameraman after they got hit too. Well, the one cameraman kicked the deer. The other deer kind of ran into the guy's knee.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Oh, so
it's probably
crazy.
those two.
I was actually going to see if it helped you any by mentioning, did you have a favorite one that you edited? But that kind of answers that one. So I have one more question. What is your favorite hunting tradition?
Favorite hunting tradition? Oh,
I know we're deep in the roots here in Pennsylvania.
It's got to be a toss-up between the day before rattlesnake season and the day before rifle season, because the rattlesnake season, that opening day, we'd always go up to camp. Now, I missed this year because I didn't have time to get up there. But the day before, we would all just kind of hang out. We would go fishing. We'd hit native trout streams. We would just enjoy, like, the first nice weather where we could just sit out and relax, and you see everybody because most of the time I only see those guys is that day, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with the day before the opening day of rifle season. It's like our family reunion. I see more people the day before rifle season than I do usually any other time of the year, because I have family from Florida coming, Maryland, Pittsburgh, and so we all get together down at my grandfather's cabin, and we have a big giant poker game, and all for fun and stuff, and that sort of has been tradition, which is kind of going to go away now with the Saturday opener, because I don't know if we're going to be able to do that now, because family members are going to be working Friday. They can't really take Friday off because, well, half of them may not be here till, you know, because usually we do that, you know, Sunday night.
Right.
And stuff. So they have to be here a lot earlier, coupled with the fact that Thanksgiving is, you know, right before that too. So I don't know if that tradition will have to end, because usually now everyone's going to get to camp, go to bed, and, you know, we're not going to have time to, you know, visit and hang out, because that's usually what the whole Saturday and Sunday was for. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out this year, what we can do with that. But those would probably be the two biggest hunting traditions. Is just, it's always the day before. We used to do an archery eve. We used to make archer's eve videos. We would get together, shoot bows the night before, have a big cookout. But then again, it just got to be a little bit more difficult because everyone wants to hang out, and they're like, oh yeah, we're all getting up at like 4 a.m, you know, to go out hunting. And so everyone kind of wanted those videos, because I would make a little collab of what we did the whole year, but it just got to be a little bit too much, especially when things got busier as we got older. But yeah, I'd say the day before snake season, the day before buck season, just the groups of people that would come and enjoying each other's company and reviewing everything from the year before. Those are some of the biggest traditions.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
And honestly, if it were me, I would say don't change anything. Make that tradition even better than years past. So the guys that can't make it into town till later on, I wouldn't suggest they change anything, because I think it could be bigger and better that night before, because you could have some guys that come up, they hunt Saturday. Other guys that come up, they can't hunt Saturday. You guys all get together Sunday. So Sunday at the table, you're playing your card game. Some guys have deer stories already to tell. There's more excitement going on. I think it could be bigger and better than ever, to be honest.
Yeah, I never really thought of that. It just depends on how many people will be staying to hunt that Monday.
Right.
Right.
If they're heading home, and they're like, hey, we can hunt that Saturday, and then we have Sunday to visit people because then we're going to head out. But yeah, if they hunt that Monday, if they take that Monday off,
right,
like they still were, then yeah, I think that it could be just as good, because then you have a day in between, or that evening the night before, where you still have that time to visit everybody. But yeah, I never thought of it that way. But yeah, that's where, we just have to see how it plays out when that Monday comes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I would think too, I don't really think it's really going to change too much having that opening day on Saturday. Most people are already used to taking that Monday off. Now they just have kind of a bonus day.
Yeah.
I still think people are going to take that Monday off and still have the normal tradition of taking that opening day supposedly off and still go out and hunt.
I think where John's coming from, and I can agree with him here, is that, you don't have to take a day off anymore. And a lot of guys might take advantage of that and just hunt Saturday, and go back to work on Monday and not take that day off and maybe use that day somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that definitely can happen. I don't want to see something like an extra day of hunting tarnish a tradition, if it doesn't have to. That's where, and I don't think our group, it'll be that way, because I know we take those days off regardless. But I'm looking forward to it. Again, you can never, me personally, I can never say no to another day in the woods. That's the hard part, but we cannot get into that.
I really don't know how it's going to play out with, with the family members from different states, out of state, how far they have to travel. Guys from Pittsburgh, okay, they don't have to travel so far, but they're obviously not going to take Friday off, where guys from Florida, they're going to have to take Friday off.
Right.
And so in order to get up here in time, now whether they get some vacation, whether they plan to make an extra long vacation with the Thanksgiving, and then, maybe they have, I can't make it up for that Saturday because I have family stuff down here. If we get up, we would have to leave, Friday and then get up there first thing Saturday. It just, you never know, because then it depends on how far you have to drive to camp. If you're driving, from Pittsburgh up here, some of the guys only have to drive an hour. I know there's other people that drive 2.5 hours to go to camp. The process of getting camp up, getting off of work at 4 or 5 o'clock, driving 2 or 3 hours, opening camp up, then boom, you better be in bed. And it's just, the tradition of just sitting around the campfire and talking and just relaxing may not be there, but you never know, because there's people that are working Saturday too, and that's what they use as Sunday. I don't know. So that's where we just have to see how it plays out. Because
absolutely.
It might be just as good. If guys start taking Monday off, then you have that Sunday where you can visit. There's multiple deer camps in the family around, but we all go to my grandfather's for the poker tournament. But before that, we bounce from camp to camp, and everyone sort of gets to see each other. And then whoever wants to play poker comes down to play the poker game.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, though. That's a pretty cool tradition.
I dig that. Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Absolutely. Well, John, where can everybody find out about Leatherwood Outdoors if they haven't heard about it before? If they're living under a rock? Where's everywhere they can find you?
Well, we got 2 YouTube channels, Leatherwood Outdoors and Leatherwood Outdoors 2. The second channel, Leatherwood Outdoors 2, is all one word with the number 2 at the end. And then our main channel is Leatherwood Outdoors, just 2 separate words, Leatherwood Outdoors. And then we have a Facebook page, and you can find us on Instagram, and that's pretty much it.
That's awesome, man. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day and coming on and just chatting with us for a while and sharing your experiences and telling stories. And it's been an awesome time, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Guys have a good thing going, and it's good to share stories and talk about everything. You know, we've covered ice fishing to snake hunting.
Yeah, definitely
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I like it. Well, you're welcome to come back on anytime you want, my man.
That's right.
All right, thanks.
All right. Thank you, John. Appreciate it, man.
Yep, see ya.
Well, again, a huge thanks to John Royer for coming on the podcast and talking to us for as long as he did. He didn't have to do that, but we appreciate his time. Make sure you guys head over and check him out on Facebook, Instagram, and both of their YouTube channels at Leatherwood Outdoors and Leatherwood Outdoors 2. Give them a like, subscribe. You guys won't be mad if you subscribe to their channel. They are constantly putting out good stuff. You'll absolutely love it. I know I do. I'm sure you will too. As always, you guys can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Go Wild, Twitter, all those fun places. Make sure you head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star review. It's greatly appreciated. It helps other hunters like you find our podcast, and it helps us out tremendously. But other than that, guys, this is it for this week. And we will continue to pump out the podcast. It's been a little bit sporadic recently. That's due to time constraints, but we are going to be back on track as of next week. So stay tuned for more content. The distraction is real.